Special thanks to Patreon supporter Jagdtiger for making this tutorial possible. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Security Wolf here bringing you another Minecraft World War II aircraft tutorial. In this tutorial we'll be going ahead and building the Yak-3. The Yak-3 was a single-engine, single-seat World War II Soviet fighter. Robust and easy to maintain, it was much liked by both pilots and ground crew. One of the smallest and lightest combat fighters fielded by any combatant during the war, its high power-to-rate ratio gave it excellent performance and it proved to be a formidable dogfighter. Marcel Albert, a World War II French ace who flew the Yak-3 in the USSR with the Normandy Nijmegen Group, considered it a superior aircraft to the P-51D Mustang and Supermarine Spitfire. It was also flown by Polish air forces and the Yugoslav Air Force after the war. So yeah, the Yak-3 here, very cool fighter, kind of a mid to late war design. It was first flown in 1943 as the Yak-10 prototype, the Yak-110 prototype, and it was introduced fully into the military in June of 1944. So definitely kind of closer on the end, I guess, of a late war aircraft with its kind of late introduction there, but a really cool aircraft and should make an awesome addition if you're looking for a nice Soviet aircraft. Before we go ahead and jump into the tutorial, I do want to go ahead and give a special thanks to Patreon supporter Jagdtiger for making this tutorial possible. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel more than I do, feel free to check my Patreon page. Link is always in my video description, where you can go and pledge a small amount every month, and in doing so earn a vehicle request of your choosing. Really helps support the work I do on my channel. It's really greatly appreciated, so definitely feel free to check that out. Again, link is down in that video description. With that though, let's dive in here to take a look at the Yak-3. So, Yak-3 here, really nice looking build. Obviously very simple fighter, very standard for most World War II fighters. You have your front props, your cockpit, your tail there, or empennage with your horizontal and vertical stabilizers, and your wings obviously across the sides of the aircraft. So it came out really nice. We have a two-tone color scheme up on top here, so it's light gray and this dark gray, and then we have the polished diorite and kind of a white underbelly, which is a really nice color scheme and kind of goes with a few of the other aircraft we've done, such as a bomber there and that heavy fighter. So you kind of get some similarities between the two in terms of its color scheme, but it's kind of like this winter war type color scheme, which just definitely fits in for the time period. Overall, lots of good detail on it. Looks real nice, and just overall is a pretty simplistic, straightforward build. That should be a nice one to add into your World War II maps if you have an Eastern Front map. With that though, that's pretty much it for this overview, and let's go ahead and move into the tutorial. Alright guys, so moving into our first layer here, we will be starting with layer 2. Now we're starting with layer 2 because we get a better basis of the aircraft built on, which in return will allow us to kind of easily build onto it from the bottom and up on top here. Layer 1's a little bit of a weird layer, so we're going to go ahead and kind of leave that after we have this top layer done as well. Now, a few things I want to mention before we go ahead and jump in this tutorial is if you're completely new to my aircraft tutorials, the way I like to structure these tutorials, I like to do half on camera, half off. What this means is we're going to be building the center line of the aircraft and then the right side. It'll be up to you guys to take the right side and copy it over to the left side. This aircraft, for the most part, is completely symmetrical, so whatever we do on one side will be done to the other side unless I mention otherwise. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, we will be using polished diorite here for a lot of the layer. You can see here we have our center line. This is going to kind of be our underbelly. One thing I would also like to mention is that we will be using stone. So instead of doing the camouflage in the tutorial, we will be going ahead and doing stone altogether. And we'll talk about the camouflage a little bit at the end. So if you see me just doing the white on the bottom and just a flat stone color up on the top here for the wings, that is the reason why, and we will be talking about the camouflage near the end. This is also an in-flight model only, so if you are looking for a landed version, this one is not going to work, as it would require a completely different design, since it does sit at an angle when landed. Anyways, though, let's go and jump into the tutorial. First thing we're going to do is we're going to place down a polished diorite upside down stair. Behind that, we want to place down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these polished diorite full blocks. After that, we're going to place down a piston, which is going to be upside down, so just like that, facing downwards. Now, if you don't have access to a debug stick, which is going to be for Java players only, with commands, you're going to want to go ahead and place down a polished diorite upside down stair. So the back will be here, and it'll lay like this instead as an alternative to that piston. After that, though, we're going to go ahead and place down 1, 2 polished diorite top slabs, and then 2 iron trap doors. With that done, we're going to go ahead and then take our light gray stained glass paints, and we'll place down 2 glass paints here along the side. At least first 2 blocks here. We're going to go then place down 1, 2, 3 andesite walls, and then 1 and 2 stone full blocks. After that's done, we then want to place down a skeleton skull going back. And we're going to go then place down 2 birchwood signs, one on top side of this block and one on the side here of this piston. So like so. With that complete, we're going to go and then place down a stone slab coming off this inside wall. We're going to go and then place down a piston. It's going to be located right here, kind of below it. So you have 1, 2, 3. You're going to have 1, 2, 3 pistons that kind of go back from it. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to have one that goes back like so. So it kind of forms an L there. If you do not have access again to debug stick and pistons, I would recommend placing down stone full blocks instead as an alternative. After this though, we're going to go ahead and fill in the space here with a row of 2 of stone slabs. So 1, 2, and over here, 1, 2, like that going forward. Or out to the side, I should say. We're going to go ahead and place down 2 daylight detectors here. We're going to turn these to the night mode, so you have that kind of bluish gray color, and then a stone slab here. Once we have that done, we want to go ahead and then grab ourselves some polished diorite top slabs and stairs. We're going to place down 2 stairs coming off these 2 pistons or full blocks, then a top slab on both ends of polished diorite. We're going to go then place down another row of 4 of polished diorite top slabs across, followed by a row of 2 going down the center, a second row of 2, and we then want to go ahead and take our iron trapdoors, and we're going to place down 1, 2, and one more out to the side here, like so. Now at this point in time, I would recommend going ahead and building both sides, so taking your right side and copying it over to your left side, so you have a design that looks like this here from the top-down view. Now once you have that done, and both sides transferred over, on the left side and the left side only, you're going to go ahead and go off these 2 iron trapdoors here, and you're going to place down 2 chains going forward, just like that, to go ahead and make the tip here of the wing. And that right there is pretty much all you need to do. And that right there will complete what we have there for layer number 2 altogether. With that, we're going to go and drop down to layer 1 to go ahead and get the bottom built of the aircraft. So with that, that's it for layer 2, and let's move on to layer number 1. Alright guys, moving into our next layer, we have layer 1. For layer 1, we're going to go and drop down to the bottom here of the fuselage. We're going to go and go to the second polished diorite block after that stair. We're going to place down 1, 2, and 3 iron trap doors on the bottom there. We're going to go and then skip a space, and we're going to go and then place down a piston. Now again, an alternative here to this piston would be to go ahead and place down a polished diorite full block. So I would place down a polished diorite full block, and then we have a second piston right behind it. Instead of that second piston, I would probably place down a diorite upside down stair facing that direction like so. So again, those are your alternatives there for that. That's for the section. We're going to go and then place down an item frame that's going to come off the side here of the piston. We're going to place down a blank bed in that item frame that's going to be rotated sideways. And then if you're on Java again, we can crouch and we can place down a birchwood sign on the side there of that block as well. And that just kind of helps make this look a little bit nicer there of the front for that little intake here on the bottom of the aircraft. Again, something that's not major is placing the sign, but for Java, we can go ahead and do it and just add that little extra detail. Anyways, after those 2 blocks there, we're going to place down a diorite slab that goes back like so. Now, once we have that done, we're going to take our iron trapdoors. We're going to place down an iron trapdoor coming on the bottom of this first andesite wall. Then we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, and 4. So actually, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or rather, sorry, it's going to be 3 back. So you have a total of 4. And then on this last block here, we're going to place down a birchwood sign on both sides there like so. After that, we're going to go and then take our iron trapdoors. We're going to go off this row of 4 one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4 across like so. After that, we then want to go ahead and take our iron trapdoors, and we're going to go and then go 1, 2 off the middle 2 blocks like so. This next technique here is going to involve us grabbing some item frames and also some white stained glass paints. So make sure you go ahead and grab those necessary materials. We're going to go ahead and start off by going ahead and place down item frames here. They're going to be coming off the bottom there of those blocks, and we're going to go ahead and then place down white stained glass paints in said item frames like that. If you're on Java, we can also place down an item frame here on the bottom of this stone stair here, and we can place down a white stained glass paint in it as well. So you also have the ability there for Java players, but that right there is going to pretty much complete that. Now at this point in time, if you are a Java player and you did place down the pistons, I would recommend going ahead and now grabbing a debug stick. This can be grabbed by going ahead and typing this command here, /give space @p space Minecraft : debug _ stick, and by pressing enter, you'll get this glowing stick here. Now what you can do here is you can go up to these pistons, you can left click them until you get selected extended false. By right clicking them now, we'll get rid of that wood portion, so we just have the stone portion, which helps us kind of with our shaping here. And the same thing can be done with here for our wing pistons as well. So just like that, and we will not activate this piston just yet, because one thing that does happen is if you do update the block space around a piston, so for example we have this piston activated like so, if we place down a block on top of it, it will cause the piston to revert. So just make sure you keep that in mind and you try not to mess with these pistons, because you will have to take your debug stick here and re-edit them. But anyways, there, that is going to complete everything there is there for layer number 1 for the build. Or sorry, yeah, actually layer number 1. And with that, let's go ahead and jump up to layer number 2. Yeah, sorry, layer number 3. Moving into our next layer, we have layer number 3. For layer 3 to go ahead and get started with here, we're going to place down a stone block on top of this polished diorite upside down stair, and we're going to go and then grab a light gray shulker box, and we're going to place it coming off this stone block going forward. On the tip there, or I should say the top there of the shulker box, we're going to place down a polished black stone button, like so. Going back from this stone block, we're going to place down 1, 2, and 3 more blocks. We're going to go and then place down a row of 3 of black concrete. Now, if you do want to build an interior for this aircraft, you're more than welcome to try. This space right here could be left open for a interior cockpit space, but just for the sake of the tutorial, we will be filling this with black concrete, as we will not be doing an interior. We're going to go and then place down 1, 2, 3 stone full blocks, then a red concrete block, then 1 and 2 stone blocks again, 2 polished diorite blocks, and then a stone stair there on the very end, upside down. With that done, we're going to go ahead and continue on by placing down 2 light gray stainless panes coming off the first 2 blocks, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 andesite walls, then 1, 2 light gray stainless panes, a red stainless pane, and then another light gray stainless pane like that back. Coming off these 2 polished diorite blocks, we're going to place down 2 iron trapdoors, another row of 2, and then 1 more coming off the center there, or the rear row, like that. After we have that done there, we're going to go and then take our light gray carpet. We're going to go to our wing tips here, and we're just going to place down light gray carpet on top of the top slabs and iron trapdoors, like so. If you do want to go ahead and put the red star on the wing tips on the wings as well, we can go ahead and place this in very simply by placing down a red carpet in that section right there for that Soviet star. And the same thing here will be done on both wings, obviously. So just like that on both ends. Now, once you have that all done, the last thing here for us to do for this layer is to go ahead and go to this second from the front light gray stainless pane in this first wall. We're going to place down 2 item frames. We're going to go then place down a black bed in each of these item frames. So 1 here and 1 here. And then we're going to place our birchwood signs on the side there of those blocks. So it should look like that there on both sides of the front of the aircraft. And with that all complete there, that is going to wrap up everything we have for layer 3. Again, here is an aerial overview of what it should look like. And with that, we'll be going ahead and moving into our next layer, which will be layer number 4. Moving into our next layer, we have layer number 4. For layer 4 to begin with, we're going to go ahead and go to the first 2 stone blocks here. We're going to place down iron trapdoors on top of them. We then want to place down 2 daylight detectors back, turn those to the night mode, a narrow brick stair, 2 black stained glass blocks, and we're going to go ahead and place down a piston. This piston here can also be swapped out for a another brick stair, like so, instead of that piston there. But again, the piston here is going to be your best block choice. Anyways, after that piston, we're going to go ahead and place down 2 daylight detectors, turn to night mode, 3 iron trapdoors, then a light gray stainless pane, stone full block, and an andesite wall. To the sides here, on top of these iron trapdoors, we're just going to place down light gray carpet like so. Then going back up here to the front, on our first andesite wall here, we're going to place down a flower pot, like that. On the side of this narrow brick stair, a wither skeleton skull, and then 1 and 2 black stained glass panes, and then another wither skeleton skull come off the side here of this piston. After we have that all done there, that is pretty much it for this layer. One thing I would like to mention though is for Java players, we can also go ahead and go down to this piston here on the bottom, and we can go ahead and also right click that and turn it to this design like so, and you can see there with the sloping there for our rear of the fuselage there. One thing we can also go ahead and cover in this layer, since we have that pretty much area all wrapped up, is actually going to be the propellers. Now for this, it's going to be pretty simple. What we want to do here is we're going to go ahead and grab some blocks that we can easily tell apart from the aircraft. So I'll just use orange wool, it doesn't really matter though. We're going to build 1, 2, 3, and 4 blocks out to the side. We want to delete these first 3 blocks, and we're going to go and then place down 3 wither skeleton skulls like that, basically stacked on each other going forward going toward the circle box. We're going to go then place down a polished black stone wall that goes up at an angle like so, and then a second wall up at the angle like that to create that kind of 45-degree angle prop going up. And then for the bottom section here, pretty straightforward. We're going to place down a block underneath this shulker box, then a wither skeleton skull coming off the side of it, a polished black stone wall coming down. We're going to go ahead and go off the wall, down, and we're going to place down another wither skeleton skull coming off the side of that block. And that right there will pretty much make your propellers there for the aircraft. Really straightforward and simple. And with that all complete, that's going to pretty much lead us into our final layers here, which should be layers 5 and 6. So with that, let's move into our last final layers. Alright guys, so moving into our last final layers here, we have layers 5 through 6. For these layers to go ahead and get started with here, we're going to place down a stone block on top of this one here, and then a light gray stainless pane going back from that stone block. On top of this stone block here, we're just going to place down an iron trapdoor. With that all done, we're going to go ahead and then grab ourselves barrier blocks, and we want to go ahead and begin with by placing down a row of barrier blocks that's going to start on top of this piston here. So this block here, and then we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of these barrier blocks back like so. For the first 4 barrier blocks, we're going to go ahead and place down stone buttons here on the left side. So we're going to have that row of 4, and then we're going to go ahead and go up to the top of the last 3, and we're going to place down stone buttons there on the top of the last 3 barrier blocks like so. So it should look basically just like that. We'll also at this time take our debug stick, and we're just going to go ahead and right click that piston there on the bottom, to go, or underneath there, right after the canopy there, to create that back portion there behind the canopy. With that all done though, that is pretty much it for layers 5 through 6. At this point, I will be showing you guys how to make this little red star banner. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the materials for that, and I'll show you guys how to make that red star banner. Alright guys, so moving into making this banner, it's really simple. We're going to need a loom, a red banner, 4 light gray dye, 2 red dye, and the banner pattern. This here is going to be the flower charge pattern. We're going to start off by going ahead and going into our loom, and we're going to go ahead and place down our red banner as well as our light gray dye. We're going to go ahead and do a line horizontally through the center there for our first step. We're going to go ahead and grab that banner, put it back into our loom, remove our light gray dye, place our red dye, and then our flower charge banner pattern as well. You're going to get a design that looks like this here. We'll grab that banner, put it back into our loom. We'll remove our flower charge as we won't need it any further, and also our red dye. We're going to go and place our light gray dye back in. We're going to go ahead and do a line that goes across the top third of the banner. So just like this. For our light gray dye, we're going to place that banner back into our loom. We're going to go and then grab our light gray dye again, remove it, place our red dye back in, and we want to go and then do the diamond here in the center of the banner. So it should look like this here. So we'll create that design there. We're going to grab that banner, put it back into our loom, as well as our light gray dye now. Now for this, we're going to go ahead and basically begin with by doing this triangle here that comes up from the bottom of the banner. So it looks like this. And then lastly, we'll do the lower third line of gray on the bottom here, like that, and that will create your star banner. You'll have this banner, you can place it down on both sides of this stone block here on the vertical stabilizer there, just to help kind of really, show that it is a Soviet fighter. Looks a little bit better than obviously just the red blocks, but unfortunately that's the space we have to work with, and we can only really get that red star on the tail, but really kind of helps tie everything together, and you can kind of assume now that these red markings here are also meant to be stars. So it really works well for the aircraft, and that right there is going to complete the design for it with layers 5 through 6. At this point in time though, I will be going ahead and talking about the camouflage a little bit and what you guys can do to build your own, and all of that. So with that, that's it for layers 5 through 6, and let's talk about the camouflage. So the camouflage of the aircraft really isn't too complicated to do. I will not be building anything regarding to the camouflage on camera here, but I will talk about what I did. Now the best thing to do for these camouflages is to really kind of just look at pictures online of the camouflage you want to replicate and try to kind of proportionally build it on the best you can. Obviously this aircraft here is already set for a kind of certain type of camouflage, which is this two-tone gray color. Which is what I highly recommend doing because I think it looks really good on the aircraft. But obviously you can do green and brown, green and black, whatever other kind of Soviet camouflages you see that you want to do. That's obviously up to you. But for this video in particular, we will be talking about the colors I used, and you can also kind of apply the same kind of ideas to making your own in terms of how I went ahead and did mine. But what you can see here is I went ahead and mixed in the darker gray with it. Now this dark gray was using a combination of the gray concrete, the gray carpet, the polished black stone walls and slabs and stairs if needed, and also dark oak with trapdoors as our kind of trapdoor that's in this color. And you can see it works out really, really well. Now usually these camouflages would be different on both sides. I just was kind of lazy and just did the same thing on both sides, which really isn't a huge deal in its own. But as you can see, it does really work out really well. And you can see we're just kind of mixing it into the fuselage, just kind of doing like these little splotches of this darker gray color. Some of it kind of runs down into the wings, some of it kind of just like flows throughout the entire wing with little spots of light gray coming in. And really that's pretty much it for the camouflage. So hopefully these few little times around will kind of help you build your own camouflage. But it's really simplistic, really isn't anything too complicated. And if you just use the blocks that I tell you and just kind of mix them in there with a little bit of a pattern in mind, you're going to get yourself a nice camouflage. And especially if you're building a couple of these, I recommend kind of doing a different camouflage for each one. Not necessary, but it does make the aircraft look a little bit nicer and makes them stand out a little more, at least I would think, is doing different camouflages. Anyways, though, that is going to wrap up the camo section of this tutorial, and with that, that will cover the tutorial altogether. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this build and are able to put it to good use. If you do use this build, I do ask that you guys give me proper credit for it. This being from a sound build to my channel or this video, if this does appear on social media sites. As long as you guys give me proper credit for it, you're free to use it for a project you guys are working on over on Enjoy the Build, have fun with it, all that fun stuff. But with that, that's going to do it for that. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Big special thanks to Patreon supporter Jagdtiger again for making this tutorial possible. And feel free to check out my Patreon page, link down below. Obviously, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Gary2x4, and I'll see you guys next time.